Well, greetings, everybody. Hope you're having a fabulous day. It is Friday. It is not Thursday. Yesterday we had a little internet glitch. Actually, not a glitch. My internet just went down, and it went down for about 5 hours. So we didn't have a show yesterday. But welcome to New Thought Media Network. I'm Ken Ludwig, and this is the New Thought Living Hour. The New Thought Living Hour. It's the Vibrant Living Hour. I know who I am. Too funny. Hope you're having a fabulous day wherever you are. Hope this day finds you safe, healthy, and happy, and living your best life. Because you know what? That's what this show's about. It's about living your absolute best possible life, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And it's the idea that vibrant living is really the precursor to vibrant aging, or maybe it's its cousin. Maybe it's its mother, actually, where beginning habits of vibrant living, beginning habits of taking care of yourself, making self-care a priority every single day of your life will keep you living healthier, stronger, fitter, and better longer. And that's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. It's not something that starts when you're my age. It starts when you're in your 20s and in your 30s, and you really have to maybe abandon the idea. I know when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was 8 foot tall and bulletproof. Well, guess what? When you get into your 50s and 60s and then you turn 70, you're not so bulletproof anymore. And and actually, I used to be 5'11" and a half. Now I'm 5'10" and a half. So you're not 8 foot tall and bulletproof. In fact, you're getting shorter. That's another story altogether. That's a whole nother workshop, as my friend Barry would say. But I wanted to tell you a little story today. I want to tell you a story that the late great Wayne Dyer used to tell as a teaching story. I don't believe it's a true story. I think he just used it to teach the lesson. But it's a story about him walking down a path in Hawaii. And for those of you who know anything about Dr. Dyer, he lived in Hawaii for the most part. That was his home. And he was walking down a pathway in Hawaii, and a woman walked up to him and said, "Do you live around here?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "You know, I'm thinking about moving here. What's it like here? What are the people like?" And Wayne said, "Well, what's it like where you live?" And the woman said, "Well, you know what? I live in the big city, and people are rude, they're loud, they're noisy, they don't have time for you. They kind of just ignore you." And Wayne looked at her and said, "Well, you know what? You're probably going to find it to be pretty much the same around here." And then he says that the following day, he met another woman on the same path. And the woman said, "You know, I live in a big city, and I'm thinking about moving here. I was wondering, do you live here? And what are the people like?" And Wayne said, "Yes, I do live here." So what are the people like where you live, ma'am? And she said, "Well, you know what? I love where I live. My neighbors are so friendly and caring and loving. They're always inviting you into their homes. It's just a great place to live." And Wayne said, "Well, you know what? I think you're going to find the people around here to be just exactly the same way." Now, like I said, I don't believe that's a true story. I think Wayne just told that as a teaching story. But the lesson is there. The lesson is there. It's really everything in our world is a reflection of who we are. Everything is just pretty much a mirror image of what we're putting out into the world. Is really, it's what we're getting back from the world. And if we're putting out all of that negativity that, you know, as the first woman did, then probably what we're going to get in response from the rest of the world is that same negativity. Now, I know I try very hard, and the operative word may be try. I try very hard in my life to be woman number two, to look at everyone as from a positive perspective, to just want everyone to feel that I'm a friendly person. I want to feel that I live in a friendly universe. I think it was Albert Einstein maybe who said you need to make one big decision in the world. Do you live in a friendly universe or not a friendly universe? And I think for me, I want it to always be a friendly place, and knowing without question or doubt that friendly place starts right here. There is no friendlier place in the universe than what I find beating in my own chest, than what I see looking in the mirror. That's really what my world is going to give back to me. because really all the experiences that I'm going to have in this life are a direct result of the choices that I've made. And that goes from choices about what I do for a living, choices about my integrity, my honor, to just choices about being a positive person, to being a beneficial presence in the world. I know I make it a habit every single morning before I get out of bed. I have several affirmations that I say. I finish it off with two affirmations, both of which I stole. The first one is, I am ready, willing, and able to accept more good in my life than I have ever experienced, imagined, manifested, or expressed. And the second one is, it's uh, from Charles Fillmore, I believe. I fairly sizzle. You don't hear that word very often, do you? I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and go forth with a powerful faith to do the things that ought to be done by me today. Both of those things, I just really feel that sets the stage for me to have a positive day if I can maintain that attitude. And I say those two things before my feet hit the ground, before they hit the floor, so that I try again to stay in that presence of mind of that woman number two. Now, like I said, try is the operative word, because I don't always get there. I find myself all too often being woman number one, where I'm negative, I'm judgmental. I just I don't treat people with the respect of knowing that there is a spirit inside of them, a spirit that is there, the overarching creative intelligence of the universe that put him, her here, that doesn't love them any more or less than it loves me. That's an interesting perspective, don't you think? What I have discovered over the course of time, and in particularly since my earliest studies of metaphysics back in the early 90s, I I know that having that positive attitude, that projecting that positive person requires work. It requires that you refocus on a lot of the time, that you learn to refocus. I think I said on a show a while back, that my definition of awareness is knowing that this is the negative thought that I'm having, and over here is the positive thought that completely negates that negative thought. And my definition of awareness is knowing how to close the distance in time between those two thoughts. And that takes work. It's not something that just comes naturally, I don't think, anyway. Everyone I know who is a very positive person, who projects that image of that love energy, if you will, all of those people that I know who are like that have done the work. I think one of the primary things is something I talk about all the time, and that's meditation. Meditation is enormously important, for building up that resilience, for being able to deal with what I always refer to as the vicissitudes of life, all the things that life throws at us. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter how positive you are, there are going to be ups and downs. Life is always going to throw you curveballs. I always like to joke about the fact that the minute you decide who you are in this world, the universe throws something at you and says, oh yeah, Ken, this is who you are. How about when this happens? Or how about when that person shows up? Gives you the opportunity, gives me the opportunity to reaffirm who I am, to refocus, and to bring me back to that positive energy, that positive mindset. And it takes some time. It takes some time. I don't think I've told this story on the show before, but many years ago, and I to this day I never ever have remembered why this happened, but many years ago I made a decision to stop when someone says to me, "Hi Ken, how are you?" Or even to check her at the grocery store. They don't even look up, right? They're scanning your stuff. They go, "How are you doing today?" And they really, no, they're not paying really any attention. Well, I stopped saying same blank, different day, same crap, different day. I stopped saying, what's the sense of complaining? Everybody else has their own complaints. I stopped saying hanging in there, doing the best I can. All those things, I just stopped saying them. And I started saying I'm great. And that morphed into I'm wonderful. And that morphed into fabulous and magnificent. Every once in a blue moon, I get the gumption to look at someone who says, "How you doing?" And I say, I'm showing God a good time. That one takes guts. And I don't always have the guts to say that one. I don't say it very often. But everybody who knows me expects that when they ask me how I am, I'm going to say at the very least fabulous. I've been trying to change it up actually in the last, I don't know, few months. I've been throwing in magnificent. Magnificent's a big one, right? How are you today? I'm magnificent. I've actually had a checker in a grocery store look at me and say, wow, I wish I could be magnificent. And I said, you can. It's a decision I make before I get out of bed in the morning. And that's the truth. But once again, that wasn't a flash. That didn't happen overnight. That was something that I practiced on. It was something I had to work on. You know, that's, I think, one of the, Ludwig, how are you, my friend? Good to see you there. Thank you for joining me. I know one of the, I always joke about the fact that one of the biggest lies that mommy ever told me was practice makes perfect, because practice doesn't make perfect. What practice does do, though, is practice makes permanent. So if you practice these things to be a more positive, more loving, more kind person, a beneficial presence on the planet to every person you meet, if you practice those things, you get to make a permanent change in who you are. Now let's be clear about practice. If you want to be good at anything, you have to practice. Remember the old joke? The old joke about the guy jumps into the cab in New York City, puffing and puffing. He's a tourist. He jumps in the cab. He goes, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" And the cab driver says, "Practice, practice, practice." And that's the truth. If you want to be good at anything, it requires practice. None of us is as good at what we do or great at what we do because of some lightning strike of brilliance or some incredible epiphany. We're good at those things because we practice them. Now, let's be really clear. That doesn't mean that those practices are beneficial. I'm not sure I ever told this on the show either. I was a world-class alcoholic and drug abuser for 25 years of my life. Why? Or even how? Because I practiced every single day. And I'll save the story of all of that for another time. But the truth of the matter is, those were habits that I practiced every single day that were not life-affirming, beneficial. I certainly wasn't making myself a beneficial presence on the planet. In fact, I was a royal pain in the ass, I'm sure. Excuse me. So, the question is, for each and every one of us, are the things I'm practicing, are my habits, are they serving me? Are they serving the greater good? Are they serving anybody? Or are they just simply my self-destruction or my enjoyment, my play, my indulgence, more appropriately, that doesn't really do any good for anybody anytime? But in order for me to get sober and spend the next, on July 5th, which is only a couple of weeks away here, I'll be sober for 33 years. In order to do that, we're talking about some serious practice that was way more difficult and way more intense and way more focused than the habits of becoming an alcoholic. Because the choices you make to be sober are way more important, way more life-affirming. And they're decisions and choices you're making to change something. Not always the best, the easiest pathway for any of us. Because when we try to change too often, it's really, really easier to just go back, man. Skip all that change stuff. Let me just go back to who I was, where I was, when I was. That's why we call it the work, right? I can remember years ago when I did a thing called the Red Door, spiritual entertainment, we called it. And I used to refer to the work all the time. And someone took me aside one night and said, you really should stop using the word work, because people have negative connotations towards the word work. And I said, wow, you have a point there. And I went away from that person and I thought about it. And I said, well, you know what? There is no other word, because it is the work. It's not easy. It wasn't meant to be easy. It's the work. We don't call it the fun. We don't call it the play. We don't call it the easy. We call it the work. And it requires focus. It requires intention. It requires consistency. The consistency thing is huge for me. You know, consistent action, consistent focus, consistent intent will always lead to mastery. And that's where I feel I am in the area of sobriety. 33 years sober, I certainly have mastered sobriety. Or maybe more importantly, I've mastered alcoholism. I have become its master. There's a better way to put it. I've become the master of the alcoholism, and now are a master of sobriety. That's pretty cool. But go back to the beginning thought here. It's all about creating that positive mindset. You know, in my industry, I'm a professional network marketer, and in my industry, we talk about mindset all the time. We talk about it from the perspective of believing in yourself, believing in your industry, believing in your products, believing in your company, all of those things. But the truth of the matter is, mindset has only one real component in my mind. That's belief in me. Belief in me, all the rest of what everyone refers to as mindset just completely flows from that space. But again, it starts here. I have to believe in me. I have to adopt those ideas of positivity. You know, I've mentioned many times on the show here, I've mentioned a book by Peter McWilliams. You can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. And I don't think I ever brought it down here except today. And when I brought it with me, I realized, you can see that, you know, I'm a sticky note guy. You can see all my sticky note flags in there. But what I realized was I have a bookmark that's almost exactly halfway through the book. I never finished reading this book. So it is now part of my reading. But what I did, just for grins, just for fun, I just opened the book, just opened it to anywhere. And I'm gonna read you what I came up with. Okay, first thing is on one page, on the left-hand page, there's a quote from Salvador Dali, the great surrealistic artist. There are some days when I think I'm going to die from an overdose of satisfaction. Wow. Wow. How often do we get that feeling? I am so satisfied that I feel like it's too much, like I've overdosed on satisfaction. That's amazing. On the right-hand side is part of the book, is what Peter McWilliams has written. This, and I love this because this is a real big piece of this message. And this message was created before I opened this book. That's why I love the way that works. Okay, so I open the book and I get exactly what I needed for today's message. But here's what it says. Doing things with joy will create more joy. If you want more joy in your life, do whatever you're doing with more joy. How? Just do it. How do you behave when you're joyful? Behave that way. What do you think when you're joyful? Think that way. How do you feel when you're joyful? Feel that way. The joy begins a cycle of joy, which produces more joy, which produces even more joy. You don't have to do anything special or different. Just do whatever you're doing with joy. The same is true of loving, happiness, compassion, all the good attitudes of life. Doing with loving produces more loving. Doing with happiness produces more happiness. Doing with compassion produces more compassion. It's a wonderful upward spiral that starts whenever you decide to start it. How about now? You know, when we live in that negative space, when we do the things that are not life affirming, when we make those our habits, and that is always a downward spiral. That's doing nothing but circling the drain. The upward spiral is to always embrace the more positive, to always embrace those what some people would call God qualities: joy, love, compassion, happiness. Do everything with more of that. Pick something that you really can't stand to do, man. Anything. I don't care what it is. I should do this with my wife. You know what my wife doesn't like? This is so not womanly. She doesn't like to shop. And I don't care what you're shopping for. She doesn't like it. Clothes, groceries, stuff, whatever. She's not a fan. But what you do is you take something like that and then you say, today, I'm going to do this with joy. I'm going to do this and have fun. I'm going to do this so happy. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to go into this situation where normally I'd be annoyed as hell with people. I'm going to be loving and compassionate. I had an experience like that today with the phone company. I get on the phone to call the phone company invariably with an attitude of yikes. And that's put in mildly. I'm a 4-letter functional guy, as my dad used to say. I don't say yikes. I say shit. I don't want to call the phone company because it wound up being 45 minutes of my time. It just goes right down the tubes, and I don't ever get that 45 minutes back. It's gone. It's wasted. And I was really, really annoyed with something that the phone company had done, and I started taking it out on the lovely young lady who was trying to help me, Diana, who was trying to help me and get things right for me. And she actually went out of her way a couple of times to put me on hold and go do things to try to make it a better situation. In the middle of the call, I switched my mindset. Again, that's that awareness, right? I became aware of the fact that even though I had said it twice to her, I know it's not your fault, Diana. I'm really mad. But I still was taking it out on her. And I switched my head. I went to compassion and kindness to this young lady. I think one of the key pieces to being able to do that is just continuing to feed your brain positive thoughts. If you feed your brain positive thoughts, you will maybe subtly, maybe gently, or maybe even rapidly, maybe make a quantum leap into just being more positive. I had a conversation with I have a prayer partner, someone that I have had a prayer call with every Wednesday for an hour for I don't know, a dozen years maybe. We're still not sure how we met. We know how we became prayer partners, but we're not sure how we met, and we're not sure how long we've been doing this, but we've been doing it a long time. And I forgot what I was saying. That's pretty funny. We were talking about affirmations. We were talking about the idea that you say affirmations over and over and over again, and sometimes it might occur to you, why am I repeating these affirmations over and over and over again? I don't seem to be realizing any benefit from them. And the truth of the matter is, you're always getting benefit from them, because as you repeat them, you are creating new neural connections in your brain. And as you do it over and over and over and over and over again, those neural connections are becoming permanent. In the language of Joe Dispenza, neurons that fire together wire together. And if you continue to fire that connection, it will wire more and more and more firmly. And you will also, in the process of not saying some other things in your self-talk that would not be so positive, those connections are disconnecting. So you continually just feed yourself with positive thoughts. Another one that this might be a little much for some people, but I like to think in terms of always being clear. I only have one source. The divine, God, spirit is my source. And I never want to lose sight of that. I never want to lose sight that when we say source, I don't just mean a source of flow, of income, of money, of source of good. I mean my source. It is the source of me. That divine energy, that overarching creative intelligence, that volitional intelligence that is the creative energy of the universe, that loving creative intelligence of the universe, that is part of every single facet of my being. It is the spaces between the cells of my being, is that overarching creative intelligence. Never losing sight of that is one of the consistently most positive things I can feed myself with. Now, once again, I'm saying this stuff too often, or very often, when you're having this kind of I guess this is a monologue. I'm teaching what I need to learn, because none of this stuff am I perfect at. It's all things I know. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm great at it. doesn't necessarily mean I'm even good at it, but it's things that I know for certain. So, another one that I wanted to give to you today. This is a big deal for me. Um, I love this. I absolutely adore this. This is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Optimist Club. The Optimist Club is a fraternal organization, which is kind of a bad name. It's a service organization. And the focus of the Optimist Club is on youth, on supporting the young people of the world, not just of America, because the Optimist is international. It is all over the planet. Um, and at the end of every meeting, we say what's known as the Optimist Creed. The Optimist Creed is it's something that was written by a great metaphysician many years ago, Christian D. Larson, and it's written in what I believe is the second person, where it starts out with promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. And what I discovered was it was nice to say that with the group at the end of every meeting, but it's not particularly personal, and it's not really an affirmation. So every morning now in my meditations, or near at the end of my meditations and my prayer work, I added this in. I rewrote the Optimist Creed to make it mine. And here's what I want to read it for you, because I think there's some things in here that virtually everyone can benefit from. Today, I am so strong that nothing can disturb my peace of mind. I talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person I meet. I make all my friends feel that there is something in them. I look at the sunny side of everything and make my optimism come true. I think only of the best, I work only for the best, and I expect only the best. I am just as enthusiastic about the success of others as I am about my own. I forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. I wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature I meet a smile. I give so much time to the improvement of myself that I have no time to criticize others. I am too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. I say that every morning. I also have done at different times, and I've actually presented this to the club. I will actually pick one line and then discuss that line. One of my favorites is, I wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature I meet a smile. I only did this once, but I did it for a whole day. And I smiled at every living creature. I smiled at the people, people that didn't see me, people that I wasn't making eye contact with. I still smiled at them. I smiled at the squirrels. I smiled at the birds. All of those things, all of those beings, all of those living creatures are evidence of the existence of the divine. They're evidence of the abundance of that overarching creative intelligence, which only and always loves what it does. And what it does is create. And because it loves to create, it loves its creation. And that's where we come up with the ideas of, in religions, of an all-loving God, regardless of all the other trappings of punishment and guilt and not enoughness and all that other baloney that goes with the religious traditions of the world. And I'm not, and if you're a religious person, I'm not knocking your religion. It just doesn't work for me. Okay, I was born and raised a Catholic. I left the Catholic Church over 50 years ago because it just didn't work for me. And then I didn't find anything else that did work for me until in my mid-50s, I discovered metaphysics. And I discovered the great book by Dr. Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind, which changed my life forever. Again, another story that's not, not necessarily another story. If you want to read something positive, read The Science of Mind. It's a long book. It's a 600-page book, but you'll love it. I've read the book 3.5 times and never read the same book twice. It's the same old story, right? You can't dip your toe in the same river twice. you're a different person every time you do it. The river's different every time. So the meaning in the book and who I am as I'm reading it is completely different than it was the last time, which is the same for anything that has ever given you a positive boost, a positive inspiration in your life. Revisit it. I don't care what it is, a book, a movie, a record album. I've been revisiting some old rock and roll and blown away by music from the 60s and 70s and the messages of that music that are so incredibly pertinent to the times we live in. They're pertinent to all of history. But lots and lots of positive messages, lots and lots of positive messages coming out of a negative and then rising up. Lots of messages like that in old rock and roll music, old folk music in particular. And I don't mean to sound like they're the same thing, but they're, that's all my kind of when I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I started paying attention to music in the mid 50s, I guess. I'm sorry, not the late 50s, when I was like 9 or 10 years old. So yeah, there's some ideas on being positive, on thinking good thoughts. And I've been using that. Being positive is what I've been using on working on the issue of experiencing some degenerative disc disease in my back. Those of you who watched the show before have heard this, but I've been updating my back every single week because it's important. I got this diagnosis of degenerative disc disease, which is really a really lousy way to describe it because it's not really a disease. It's just a degeneration of the quality of the discs in a person's back as they age, primarily, or as a direct result of injury of some kind. It can be a serious condition if you just ignore it. You take care of it. I mitigated it. With, to begin with, I think I've said this before, I use my CBD, depending on what I'm doing, my 1,500 milligrams or my 750 milligrams CBD. I use them. And I use that to stop the pain, which allowed me then to start stretching and exercising and doing yoga and using an inversion table to make some space between those discs. And then I spend a good deal of time in every morning's prayer work, focusing my attention on each individual disc from the very bottom all the way to the middle of my spine, loving each disc and loving its regeneration and rehydration. Hydration of your discs is all important. I didn't know that until I started to experience this issue. But hydration of the discs is all important. And that's one reason why you want to drink plenty of water in your life. Your discs rehydrate when you sleep. So that's just a little tidbit of knowledge for you there. But I have focused my attention positively on loving and regenerating those discs. And the results have been extraordinary. My pain, my discomfort is a fraction, 10%, mostly 5% of what it was when I first went to the doctor because I was having this experience. By the way, you'll notice I'm making it a point, and I'll give this to you, to anybody who wants it. When you are experiencing something that is less than ease, if you're experiencing something that might be considered dis-ease, what you really want to do is not own it. I don't have degenerative disc disease. I'm experiencing some degeneration of my discs. I didn't have sciatica. I was experiencing some sciatica. So that's not mine. Because when you own it, when you say I have it, when you own it, it tends to become more intense. It becomes something that's yours. This thing in my back is not mine. It's an experience I'm having. And I am working very diligently in meditation, prayer work, and physical manipulation of it to mitigate it, to heal it, to make it better. And that's part of the prayer work, is healing it and making it better. So there's a piece about the positive thing. You know what? And my update on my back in the middle, instead of in the beginning of the show, I just gave you that in the middle of the show here, just because that's when I did it. You know, excuse me. I did. We didn't have the show yesterday because of the internet problems, and I forgot this. I literally forgot this the first 2 weeks of June. But I want to wish everybody out there, everybody, a happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. It's an important month for me. I love all my LGBTQ plus friends. This is not something too many people know, but I kind of joked. I was the token straight male on the LGBTQ plus ministry at Mile High Church for a couple of years. And I have marched in the Denver Pride Parade many times. By the way, the Denver Pride Festival is the third largest Pride festival in the country, and the parade is the seventh largest parade in the country. That's pretty extraordinary. And if you've never done it, if you've never participated in Pride Fest, I will tell you this: take the opportunity to do it. It is more fun than the law allows, and you'll get an experience of the diversity of humanity that you've not seen before, that you've never seen out. In my business, we talk about being a professional network marketer and being loud and proud about our company and the products and so forth and so on and so on. But the idea of loud and proud, in my mind, originated with the gay community. That was the original place where I heard loud and proud, was from the gay community. And I'm proud to be associated with them. I'm proud to have them as friends. I actually have, at this point in my life, I have more gay friends that I could refer to as brothers and sisters than I've ever known in the entirety of my previous life. Part of that is being part of a totally accepting, non-judgmental spiritual community where we accept all people just simply because there's one reason to accept all people. What is their reason? Because they're here. Not always the easiest thing to do. And I'm not, once again, I'm not the expert here because I have my judgmental moments that I'm not necessarily too proud of, but I have them and they're there. There's no two ways about it. As a minister once said to me, not everybody works for everybody, nor should they. But at the same time, I have to respect their existence, have to respect that they're here. That means everybody. And just stop and think about it. Think about all the people in the world that you would rather not interact with ever again as long as you live. Okay, fine, but you still have to respect who they are. Think about people in history, and I'm not going to name names. Think about people in history who are despicable, who are universally despised. Well, that's not true, because almost everybody who had a negative point of view, and was a negative influence in the world has people that still agree with them. But think of those people that you consider to have been despicable people in history. The old joke was, the old line was, even Hitler went to heaven. And of course, from a metaphysical perspective, the answer to that is there's no other place to go. That's why. We're all on the same mountain. And the reason there are so many pathways to the top of the mountain is because the top of the mountain is the divine, is God, and there is only one place to go. So the reason there are so many different pathways to God is because God is the only place to go. Many people have chosen many different paths. But regardless the path that someone has chosen, from a standpoint of being positive and being a beneficial presence in the world, I absolutely am called to love and respect them. Try that on for a day. It's not easy. But what is that? Let's go back to the beginning of the show. That's the work, my friends. That's the work. That's what we're all called to do in this life. That's what we're all called to be a part of, to be part of the experience. And it really is, it's an opportunity to become more than who I have been in this life. It's an opportunity to accept the universe's 24/7, 365 invitation to be more. But it requires that you do the work. It requires that we look our shortcomings in the eye and still transcend them. And I know, and trust me, I'm not a big fan of workshopping our shortcomings. I think what we really should focus on mostly in life is to focus our attention on what we're really, really, really good at, and then, and only then, can we help bring our to bring our shortcomings on board, if you will, to have them tag along. I'm showing some crawls across the bottom here, and I just want you to know that's one way to reach me right there is teamrockitnow@gmail.com. You can reach me there. You can also reach me at this one here. This is New Thought Media. Oops. There we go. I'm getting better at this. Ken at newthoughtmedia.org, ntmedia.org. You can. This is something new I'm going to do here. Right there is a place where you can go. This is really what is sponsoring me doing the show. This is the source of my CBD products. And if you go there, you will see not only these products, you will see just the largest selection of CBD products and hemp-infused products that you've seen anywhere, any place. This company is actually the number one direct-to-consumer distributor of CBD products in the world. It's a global corporation. So go there, and if you see something that strikes your fancy, please ask me questions, send me messages, or just go ahead and try something. If you want to try anything that's on that website, everything we sell carries a 60-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. There's also another one here. This is Trim 365. This is one of 8 sublingual sprays that you'll also find on that website. And let me tell you something. I don't want to go through all 8 of them, but what I want to tell you is every single one of these is highly concentrated. It is a micronized spray delivery system, which is just this little incredibly fine spray that is sublingual under your tongue. And I'm just going to tell you flat out, no questions asked, these work. They just flip and work. And that's part of vibrant living. It's part of vibrant living. And, what some of you know, my beloved Lisa and I, my wife and I, we have a website, not a website. I keep calling it a website. It's not a website. We have a Facebook page called Vibrant Aging. And vibrant aging is kind of the precursor to, or it was the thing that preceded this show, Vibrant Living. Vibrant living leads to vibrant aging. Somewhere along the line, my wife and I'll change this. She keeps arguing with me that we'll just stop saying this, but we're gonna make this Vibrant Living, Vibrant Aging, that Facebook page. But aging is something that it's a universal experience that we share. Each and every one of us is aging. From the minute that doctor swats you on the butt for the very first time, we are sharing the aging process. And what I'll tell you is, at my age, after living the life that I've lived, aging is a privilege. And it's a privilege denied to many. Being human, being a human being, being a living creature on the planet Earth, we don't know about the rest of the universe, but on the planet Earth, being a living creature, being a human, has a mortality rate of 100%. We are all going to die. We are all going to transition into whatever is next, and that will be up to your own individual belief system. My belief is that the part of me that animates me, that creative intelligence that is flowing in through and as me just simply returns to the source when this human container passes on. But in order to make sure that that aging thing is something that I get to experience for as long as possible, I really want to learn to embrace what I've talked about many times before, positive lifestyle. Positive lifestyle, I want to say manipulations, but it's not the word. It's PLM. Anyway, it's positive lifestyle changes. It's about literally asking yourself the questions. Are my habits serving me? What habits are not serving me? How can I change them so that they serve me? Lots and lots and lots of answers there, and I'm sure we'll talk about those over the course of many, many shows. But one of the things I know for certain, and the experience of degenerating discs and sciatica in my back are great examples of this, of me not paying attention, of not giving my body the respect that it deserves, not giving it the attention that it deserves. But I love the simple idea that if you want to keep moving, you got to keep moving. Do whatever it takes to continue to maintain a body that is strong, that is flexible, that is healthy, that is vibrant in every single way. As I said at the beginning of the show, my whole purpose here is to show you pathways to live healthier, stronger, fitter, and better longer. And all of the positive lifestyle manipulations or changes that you can make, and all of the movement that you do, and paying attention to your nutrition, paying attention to your supplementation and what you're putting into your body, all of those things, including your hydration. But in particular, continuing to move. And I don't just mean physical movement, I mean staying engaged, being engaged all the time, learning to say yes as you experience the aging process. It gets way too easy to say no. Way, way, way too easy to say no. Because we're comfortable. You all know the expression, nothing good ever happens inside your comfort zone. Nothing exciting certainly never ever happens inside your comfort zone. So it's a question of saying yes, being bigger, accepting the universe's invitation to be more all the way through life, not just at certain ages, but all the way through life. Accepting that invitation to be more, and in so doing, what I'm here to tell you is you will embrace my new favorite expression, which is compressed morbidity. Compressed morbidity is very simple. Or I'm sorry, it's really, you can express it either way. Compressed morbidity, compressed mortality. Compressed mortality is probably more appropriate. Compressed mortality, which simply means that you are active, vibrant, and alive until the end. I don't mean in a hospital bed. I don't mean drugged on the couch at home. I don't mean in hospice. I mean vibrant, living, moving and grooving until the very end. I've told the story before of the guys who Mark Middleton, who wrote this book, my new favorite book, Growing Bolder. I just finally finished this the other day, and I'll be rereading it again almost immediately, and you'll be hearing more about this particular book because there's so much incredible stuff in here. But they talk about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of older people, older Americans that they interviewed. And they had one guy set up for an interview. He was in his 90s, 97, I think, or 95. He was a world champion age group bicyclist. And they had him set up for an interview to talk about his experience in his 90s of being this world-class bicyclist. And they had his interview set up for a certain day. I think it might have been a Saturday, is my vague recollection, but they had his interview set up for this certain day. And when they went to interview him, he had passed away. But he passed away 3 days after winning a bicycle race at 97. That's compressed mortality. Moving and grooving right up to the end. Right up until there's nothing left to do. Till you've done it all, maybe. Excuse me. And all of that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's all about habits. It's all about practice. It's all about what are you practicing to do. You know, there's a great quote, and I just recently found out it it's a quote attributed to Aristotle, and Aristotle didn't say it evidently. And someone commenting on some of the writings of Aristotle actually said this about what Aristotle was writing. But the expression is, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence then is not an act. Excellence is a habit. Health is not an act. Health is not a salad. Health is the habit of salads. Health is the salad of a salad. Health is the habit of a plant-based diet. Health is the habit of exercise. Health is the habit of meditation and prayer work. Health is the habit of random acts of kindness. Health is the habit of good hydration. Health is the habit of being a beneficial presence, of being a loving, kind, considerate, compassionate human. And as I said several times in the show here, I'm talking about this because this is what I need to know. I'm teaching today what I need to learn. In fact, I think most of the things that ever come out of my mouth are things that I myself probably need to learn. You can create everything you want. You can create the life you desire. You can create the absolute existence you desire with the power of your thoughts and the absolute clear understanding that God is your source. Spirit is your source. And I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea about the word God. I use God a lot because it's convenient for me. I grew up in Catholicism. Like I said, I left there over 50 years ago. But a lot of people I know who come from the different Judeo-Christian religions, people that I know in metaphysics who come from those other traditions, they have some issues with the word God, with the guy in the sky concept, the guy who's always mad, and in particular is mad at me. Some people have some issues with that particular word. I want you to understand, when I use the word God, it comes from an understanding that came to me in a meditation many years ago. God to me is G-O-D, guidance on demand. I get that guidance in here. Remember I said earlier, the divine is even the spaces between my cells, not only my cells, not only the activity of my cells, the energy of my cells, the metabolism of my body, but it's the space in between all of that. That is God. That is the overarching creative intelligence. That is where the guidance on demand is. That's where the knowledge of the universe resides, in here. All around me, yes. But the place where I access it is within. So it's within that space where I can use the word God and feel comfortable. God, Spirit, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever words you use, knowing without a question or a doubt that overarching creative intelligence is your source, and through the use of that source and the flowing through the power of our thoughts, we get to create and experience the life of our dreams. It's a choice to do that. It's a choice to learn to meditate, to contemplate, to pray. It's a choice to learn to do those things. But remember what I said earlier in the show. Our choices lead to our experiences. Every single moment of your life is a manifested moment. It manifested from something maybe 3 minutes ago, maybe 3 seconds ago, maybe 3 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. It's a manifested moment. some intention, some thought somewhere along the line brought me to this space of manifesting this show, of manifesting this. I keep wanting to say conversation, but unless you're commenting in my comments, we're not having a conversation. I'm just talking. I hope some of that makes sense to you. I hope that you get the idea. You can decide to do whatever you want. Decide to do whatever you want to do. Then believe in you. Believe in the source within. Then vision it and dream it and picture it and use all 5 of your senses. See it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, whatever it is. And you can do all of that in your mind. You do all that in your mind's eye. Whatever it is you desire. If you want a 3-week vacation on the beach, there's no part of that beach that you can't see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. I don't mean lick the sand or go stick your tongue in the salt water. I mean, you can taste the experience. You can taste the air. And then create it. Decide it, believe it, dream it, create it. How often will that work? 100% of the time. Will it work instantaneously? Not often. Wayne Dyer always swore that he knew at least one person in the world who was an instantaneous manifester. Take that with however many grains of salt you wish. I don't ever presume to call the great Dr. Dyer anything but truthful. But for the rest of us, probably not the case. What we desire, what we manage to create in our lives usually takes a course of time. Something might be missing in our process, of decision making and deciding and believing and dreaming and creating. There might be a missing piece there. There might not be all the belief we think we have. But we can do whatever we want with the knowledge that it starts here. It flows from that divine intelligence within through our thoughts and the absolute clarity that the source is all around us. Ernest Holmes always spoke about substance. Substance is everything is substance. I am substance. You are substance. The air around us is substance. We are surrounded by substance. We are surrounded by this quantum field that is always capable of manifesting into our lives when we get the sequence down, when we decide, believe, dream, and create. And what's quantum physicists would describe as collapsing the quantum wave into what it is we wish to experience. That's the substance all around us. Substance is always taking form in our lives, and we are responsible for that happening. I hope that makes some sense to you. I always want to, it seems to me that I've lost one of my little banners here. It went away. My banner for, there it is. I want to put this up. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are building a place of positive energy, of positive knowledge, a positive resource for you to hear me if you like me, to not hear me if you don't. Where there are other people on this network that are delivering great messages and powerful thoughts and prayers for each and every one of us, for the world. We are expanding into new venues of entertainment. We are a growing organization, but we will only grow with your help. We need your assistance. So please go to ntmedia.org and click on donate. We are thrilled to get whatever you have to donate. ntmedia.org, click on donate. That's all I've got for you this Friday. I hope you'll join me next Thursday at 3 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Time for the Vibrant Living Hour once again. As always, I am immensely grateful for the incredible gift of your time and your attention. I absolutely wish you all the love and blessings that the universe has to offer. And until we meet again, namaste.